For years, I had cherished my marriage with Sarah, believing we were partners in every sense of the word. We shared a life filled with laughter, dreams, and seemingly unbreakable trust. But everything changed the day I stumbled upon a series of text messages on her phone that would shatter my world. The messages revealed her affair with David, my childhood friend, and someone I had considered a brother. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. Instead of confronting them head-on, I decided to take a more calculated approach. I wanted Sarah to face the consequences of her actions, and I wanted everyone to know the truth about her infidelity. After all, secrets have a way of festering in the dark, and I believed it was time to expose them to the light. Over the next few weeks, I began gathering evidence. I documented everything I could find: screenshots of their conversations, photos of them together, and even recordings of phone calls where Sarah unknowingly revealed details about her affair. I spent hours collecting this information, each piece of evidence fueling my resolve to expose the truth. But I wanted to do more than just confront Sarah privately. I wanted to create a documentary-style video that would showcase her deceit in front of our friends and family. This would not only unveil her betrayal but also humiliate her publicly, leaving her with no allies. I envisioned a viewing party, where everyone would gather under the guise of celebrating a milestone in our lives. I planned it meticulously, sending out invitations for a special documentary night where I would showcase a film I had been working on. I described it as a project focused on love and relationships, something everyone would enjoy. My friends and family were excited, eager to support me and see what I had created. Little did they know what I had in store for them. As the day of the viewing party approached, I worked tirelessly to edit the footage. I included interviews with our friends and family, asking them about their perceptions of Sarah and my relationship. I prompted them with questions about loyalty, trust, and what they believed were the keys to a successful marriage. The responses were candid and often revealing, highlighting Sarah's strengths and weaknesses in ways I had never anticipated. The night of the viewing party arrived, and the atmosphere was filled with anticipation. I greeted my guests with a warm smile, masking the turmoil that churned within me. Everyone was excited to see the film, and I could feel the tension mounting as they settled into their seats. I dimmed the lights and started the projector, the screen flickering to life. The video began with a montage of happy moments from our relationship weddings, vacations, and family gatherings. I watched as my friends smiled, reminiscing about the good times we had shared. But as the video progressed, it took a darker turn. I had woven in clips of interviews with Sarah's friends, who unwittingly revealed their suspicions about her loyalty. I always thought Sarah was the type to be faithful, but lately I've noticed her acting differently, one friend confessed. Another chimed in. She seemed more distant, like she was hiding something. The murmurs in the room began as people started to connect the dots. The tension grew thicker as I interspersed the interviews with evidence of the affair. I included screenshots of the texts Sarah had exchanged with David, highlighting their flirtations and plans to meet. The gasps from my friends and family echoed throughout the room as the reality of what they were witnessing began to sink in. Then came the final segment, the culmination of my plan. I had saved the most incriminating evidence for last, a recorded conversation between Sarah and David, where they discussed their feelings for each other and their plans to be together. I watched in satisfaction as the room fell silent, everyone's eyes glued to the screen. "Why don't you just leave him?" Sarah had said in the recording, her voice full of longing. "I can't stand pretending anymore. I want you." The room erupted into chaos. "Oh my God," someone exclaimed. "Is this real?" Others began to murmur amongst themselves, disbelief and anger flooding the space. I could feel Sarah's presence grow heavier beside me, her face paling as the truth unfolded in front of everyone. "What the hell is this? Jason," she shouted, her voice trembling with rage and humiliation. "You set me up." I stood my ground, allowing the truth to wash over me. "This is the reality of what you've done, Sarah. I wanted everyone to see who you truly are." "You're sick," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "How could you do this to me? I trusted you." The gathering quickly turned into a chaotic confrontation. Friends and family began to express their outrage, some turning to Sarah with disappointment. "I can't believe you'd betrayed Jason like this," one of my closest friends exclaimed. "What were you thinking?" "I'm not the villain here," Sarah shouted, trying to defend herself. "You don't know the whole story." I couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph as the truth unraveled in front of everyone. My plan had worked flawlessly, leaving Sarah publicly humiliated and without allies. I watched as her friends slowly backed away, unsure of how to react. The once tight-knit group that had celebrated our love was now fracturing under the weight of Sarah's betrayal. As she continued to plead her innocence, I realized how alone she had become. The walls were closing in around her, and the consequences of her actions were finally coming home to roost. As the confrontation escalated, I made my way to the front of the room. You had every opportunity to be honest with me, to choose loyalty over betrayal. But you made your choices, and now you must face the consequences, I said, my voice steady. In that moment, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. The woman I had loved and trusted had become a stranger before my eyes. Her pleas fell on deaf ears as the crowd began to disperse, leaving her standing alone in the middle of the room, the weight of her actions crashing down around her. In the aftermath of the viewing party, Sarah struggled to pick up the pieces of her life. Friends began to distance themselves, and the community that once embraced her now looked at her with disappointment and betrayal. I knew I had done the right thing by exposing the truth, but it didn't come without a heavy cost. As the days turned into weeks, I focused on my own healing. I reconnected with friends who had stood by me, and I sought therapy to process the pain of Sarah's betrayal. I began to rediscover myself, pouring my energy into hobbies and passions I had neglected for too long. Eventually, Sarah reached out, desperate to talk. "I'm sorry, Jason. I never meant for it to go this far. I made mistakes," she pleaded, her voice trembling over the phone. I took a deep breath, knowing I had to set boundaries. "You had your chance to be honest, Sarah. I need time to heal and figure out what I want for my future," I replied, my voice firm yet compassionate. In the weeks that followed, I continued to navigate the aftermath of the revelation. I learned to prioritize my own well-being and began to embrace the freedom that came with moving on from the betrayal. The pain of what had happened still lingered, but I was determined not to let it define me. As for Sarah, she continued to seek forgiveness, slowly trying to rebuild her life amidst the fallout. She attended therapy and began to confront her actions, though the road ahead was long and arduous. I knew that while her journey of redemption was hers to undertake, I would not be a part of it. In the end, I had exposed the truth, forcing Sarah to confront the consequences of her choices. The web of deceit had unraveled, revealing the strength and resilience within me. I emerged from the experience not just as a survivor, but as someone who had reclaimed their life. While the scars of betrayal would always remain, I had learned valuable lessons about trust, loyalty, and the importance of self-worth. As I looked toward the future, I felt a sense of hope, ready to embrace whatever came next with open arms and an open heart.